night of the week. I am very grateful that you are here watching live or on the replay. Weeks going forward, we've had some unexpected things come up in our schedules that we've had to work around, so it's okay. We just shift and carry on. So for those of you who are new here, my name is Danielle Gray and this is Teresa, and we are right now discussing the power of your subconscious mind. Every week we get together and we discuss one chapter of a book that we're reading. So it's kind of like a book club, kind of like a podcast, kind of like a hangout session where we just share what we are going through and what the book's teachings are teaching us. We've been doing this for, well, we've been doing the podcast only since January, so about 8 months, but we've been on this journey for years now. We actually met in a group coaching program around manifestation and divine receiving and things like that. So the two of us were pretty much the only good thing that came out of that program, but that's okay. That's okay. So today we're talking about, we're on chapter 5. And if you've missed any of the previous episodes, you can just go back on my YouTube channel at Mindset to Manifest. There's a podcast tab. You can go there, or you can go under live too. I think it's there as well. And you can see all of the past episodes. The last 5 have been about the power of your subconscious mind, and previous have been about different books. We did The Big Leap. What else did we do? Did we do The Magic, I think, didn't we?
The Magic, yeah.
Yeah. I think we did another one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Right now we're on the power of your subconscious mind. We're on chapter 5. I forget now. I don't even know. We've been doing it for a while. And chapter 5. Okay, so last chapter we were talking about mental healings. Uh-oh, I gotta plug my phone in. We were talking about mental healings, the miracle working power and healings in the past, like not historic, but like in history. And this chapter is talking about mental healings in modern times. And right on the first page, one of my favorite quotes in this whole chapter says, "No mental or religious science practitioner, psychologist, psychiatrist, or medical doctor ever healed a patient. There's an old saying, the doctor dresses the wound, but God heals it. The psychologist or psychiatrist proceeds to remove the mental blocks in the patient so that the healing principle may be released, restoring the patient to health." And that kind of bleeds into, what's that other book called? Psycho-Cybernetics, right? By Dr. Maxwell Waltz. And his whole book is about this principle. And he talks about how he was a plastic surgeon, and they had
Hello,
people. Guys. Hello. They had people that would come to him for plastic surgery, for cosmetic plastic surgery. And what he found was that the people that were coming to him, say they had, a big nose, or they had small boobs, or their forehead was too big, or whatever their issue was, he found, that the people that came to him for physical augmentation ended up still not liking whatever they saw. Like after they had a rhinoplasty, they still didn't like the size of their nose. They still thought their forehead was too big. And even though they had the surgery that was supposed to adjust that. And so he started to develop this theory that it really has nothing to do with what the person actually sees in the mirror, but how they feel about themselves. So he had his patients go and do this practice of visualization for, I think it was 21 days. And he said, if you do this practice for 21 days, you visualize who you want to be and how you want to be seen, and, change the way you see yourself. If you come back at the end of the 21 days and you still want the surgery, I will do it for you. But then he found that a large percentage of the people who came to him actually had no interest in continuing with the surgery because they had changed how they saw themselves. And so that really plays into what we're talking about here in chapter 5 with mental healing. Now, of course, that's kind of a different angle, but it's the same. Okay, people are being totally inappropriate. I'm gonna have to remove some people out of here.
Right. It's the same thing, with the Reiki, right? I could go in and I'm removing all of the blocks consciously, energetically, but if they're not doing any of the mindset work, they're causing everything to be blocked right back up.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's not as, oh my God, these guys are just unreal. You guys don't need to be like inappropriate. We're talking about the power of your subconscious mind, not boobs. Like, get over yourself. Anyway, but yeah, so like this is what we're always talking about with anything that you're doing. It doesn't matter. Like, okay, let's apply it to business, for example. There is so many ways you can accomplish your goals in business, in life, in whatever. But in business specifically, this is something that I teach my clients. There is a myriad of ways that you can accomplish your goals, but it doesn't matter. You could be handed a gold plated, step by step, plug and play, template and business plan. And you could be handed everything. But if you don't have the mindset behind what you're trying to accomplish, if you haven't become the person who can accomplish those things, if you haven't shifted how you see yourself and your ability to be the person who can hold those things, it doesn't matter if somebody's literally doing the work for you behind the scenes. You're not going to accomplish anything that you want to accomplish. So you're, like Teresa's saying when she does Reiki, if you don't do the work, it doesn't matter because you're never going to get where you want to go. Yes, exactly. Put God first and you'll reach your goals. And that's, the subconscious mind is a fast track to God and to source energy. Unreal.
This is interesting. This is how it is, this is part of it. It's like you have to get the messages out for whoever it's meant for. Other people, you know what, plant a seed. They're not there yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're here
Well,
to help them raise their vibration for whoever needs it. And these kinds of things. This is perfect though, because people need to see this, right? These are the things that happen when you start putting yourself out there. These are the things that we fear. What's going to come up? What are you going to encounter, right? And it will actually literally keep us frozen in place and not move forward on in our purpose, walking in our purpose because of things that come up randomly, right? You could allow it to distract you or just it's not even there.
Yeah, well, exactly. So
It's okay. So
it is okay. We're just going to,
again, this is just repeating over and over and over and over and over and over and over. There's nothing outside of us that's giving to us or taking from us, right? It's all in here in the subconscious mind. We're in control over everything. People could come up and be like, here's the magic pill. Take this. It's going to heal everything inside of you. If you don't believe it and you keep in your mind like, nope, that's never going to work for me. I'm not the one. You are opposing, right? You're going This is perfect. I actually I love it. When we started this, what did we say? Transparency, complete transparency.
yeah, it's like,
You know, this is part of the molding process right now. You can't.
so
This is
funny.
great. This is great. That's gonna
I,
be
like, honestly,
recorded.
I am glad though. And I don't know why this is, but when we are done live and the video is just available, the comments that were made during the live don't show up. And I used to not like that, but now I'm happy. Today I'm happy that that's the way it is because I had to remove a whole bunch of inappropriate comments. It's fine. Anyway, so this chapter talks about, the law of belief and how we process healing. He says, the most wonderful thing to know is this: imagine the end desired and feel its reality. Then the infinite life principle will respond to your conscious choice and your conscious request. This is the meaning of believe you have received and you shall receive. This is what the modern mental scientist does when he practices prayer therapy, right? And this is exactly what Maxwell Waltz was talking about. This is exactly what we were just talking about on this previous page, right? If you believe it's possible and the doctor believes it's possible, then it's not actually whatever they're doing that's going to cure you. Because think about this. I have heard stories of people who have been diagnosed with the same thing. One believes he's going to get better and does, and one accepts defeat and dies. right?
Exactly.
Even if they're saying the
Yep.
exact, they can see the same doctor even, right? So it comes down to the,
It's what are you going to accept? Again, it goes back to what we've been saying a million times too. What we believe to be true, therefore it is. You don't have to
yeah,
accept anything that's given to you, right? Because your subconscious mind operates off of your beliefs. It's your reality, your video game that you're creating. And Bren said, willpower is an infinite resource. Yes, that's what it starts with, right? You have to have the want. You have to have the desire, and then you have to believe that whatever it is true and can happen for you no matter what is thrown at you day in and day out, right?
yeah,
None of these people that you go to, none of their healing can even work on you. I mean, to an extent, yes, but ultimately healing you completely, no, it's you. Because I could sit here and I could work on somebody with Reiki, but their self-talk all day long is like, fuck my life, everything always happens to me, this is just the way it is. Nothing ever works out. They're literally counteracting all of the energy work that I'm doing for them.
right. It's like they're blocking it from coming in, right? And that's I and it's very hard. Like I can't even deal with clients like that, right? Because it's just like this is why I mean I've gotten better at attracting the right kind of people to me too, so I don't deal with it as much anymore. But I mean, you just said we attract people to us that are like bashing it all day long. Like there's a question here, how do you deal with people around you with negative mindsets? And I mean, you have to first of all, you have to understand that their negativity is has even if it's directed towards you, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them and their own level of consciousness, where they're at, what they're working through, what they're not working through, what they're willing to look at, what they're not willing to look at. But when somebody is being negative around you, that can play into your own subconscious mind, right? Like we've said this zillions of times. Your subconscious mind, which is on all the time, whether you're sleeping, awake, paying attention, not paying attention, your subconscious mind is absorbing everything going on around you. And it has no way to distinguish something that is happening, something that isn't happening, something that's happening to you, something that's happening to somebody else. Everything is true and everything is happening to you. So you have to be very conscious and aware of the people around you who leave you feeling negative, who leave you feeling a low vibe, and it's time to shift away from them. And if you can't, because I realize there's people maybe in your workplace, maybe in your family, maybe your spouse, maybe one of your kids, maybe one of your parents is super negative. For me personally, I just try to like one of my favorite phrases is just, well, the silver lining is because Teresa and I have said this so many times. There's always a reason for something. Everything is always serving you. Like no matter what's going on, it will serve you in some way, especially if you choose to see it that way, right? So Teresa and I and my husband and other, people around us are constantly just, well, the silver lining is, well, if you look at it like this, if you look at it from this angle, and continue to point out, that will rub off. Like one thing you need to understand is the light always wins over darkness. So positivity will eventually overtake the negativity. It can be a little bit of work and it can be a little bit frustrating, right? Like
I
Teresa, you
mean,
have
it's
something to
it's
do.
really, yeah, for me, because that's all I was around, was negativity, and with the people closest to me. So it was very hard
Mhm.
because we grow up, if we're especially if we're close to our families, it's like, respect your elders, respect the ones around you. And it's you're supposed to take into consideration how everybody feels that's around you. So it's very hard when you start coming into this awakening and awareness, like, shit, I'm not like them. I don't want to be like this. Like, this is fucking negative thinking. Like, this doesn't define me anymore. And you come out like you're the black sheep, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's like instantly because you're going against what your family has always done forever. So for me, it's just really about you standing in your power, getting clarity on what you want in this life. Okay. And once you start working on yourself, you start raising your vibration. When you raise your levels of consciousness, you really get a clear understanding that the people who are being negative around you, it's like they're projecting everything that they're going through. They're vomiting it everywhere to anybody, who's around them. You can't take anything personal. You have to keep your eye on the prize. Where is it that you're going? What are your dreams? What are your goals? What do you want to manifest? And no matter how they're showing up, okay, you got to stay focused in that lane. But you also have to be like, okay, what lessons am I supposed to be learning here? Am I not in my power, right? Am I a people pleaser? When you start coming into this awakening, this awareness, this is when we start shifting out of people pleasing into being into our power. And you're going to get a lot of pushback. And until you are fully holding your vibration strongly, that negative energy all around you does tend to affect you. So you need to cleanse your energy, you need to protect your energy, and you need to really focus on things that make you feel good and make you feel happy, because that instantly raises it. So then when you're on a different frequency than the people who are negative, it's like they're there and you can see it, but you can't hear it anymore because you're not
Right.
a vibrational match to it. You start shifting off of that frequency and everything appears differently. They're still being negative, but you're like, you're kind of looking at them like, oh, that's funny. Look at them over there. Whereas prior to, when you were a match to this shit, you weren't stepping into your power. You weren't doing any work to raise your vibration or heal yourself. You're taking everything personally. You're getting hit all day long. You just feel like shit 24/7. Like you cannot get out of this hole of darkness, depression, anxiety, and just things just going wrong for you 24/7.
Right. Well, and also, I mean, it all still boils down to the subconscious programming, right? The way we see ourselves, because just like you were saying, when you're doing this work and when you are shifting the way you see yourself and you're doing the work with subliminal affirmations, with repeating affirmations out loud, with, journaling, with shadow work, you change the way you see yourself. And then, like you just said, that changes what kind of boundaries you set for yourself, what kind of people you attract into your life. Like, and the people, especially when you start doing the work, something that I have seen in other people and in my own life, the people who are going to be rubbed the wrong way the most by you doing the work and setting these boundaries and changing what you are available for and what you will accept are the people who were taking advantage of you before, who were taking advantage of the lack of boundaries, right? Like you attracted them because you had low self-respect and they're looking for somebody to dominate over because they don't feel good about themselves either. So they need to be their vibrational match for somebody who doesn't feel good about themselves so they can get what they need out of that relationship. Right. So when you start doing the work, they can't do that anymore. And then a lot of the time they end up vibrating out of your reality. Sometimes you end up sparking something in them and they end up doing the work and they end up leveling with you. That's totally possible too. But
Right.
but something that, like I said at the beginning, Teresa and I met in a group coaching program, and something we were told in that program, which initially freaked us both out, and I kind of stopped doing the work altogether because I was totally just like scared. She said, like, when you start doing this work, people close to you will start to vibrate out. And I was like terrified that my husband and I were going to split up because at that time, okay, I also want to preface this. I was not comfortable with really who I was. And so I was not going to walk around talking about all this inner work that I'm doing because I didn't even really like what I was bringing up, let alone like putting it for somebody else to look at, right? So I was not expressing to him the work that I was doing. So I never gave him a chance to accept or deny or whatever anything I was doing. But I was scared the more I did the work because of what I was being told in this course that it was very possible that I was going to end up leaving my husband. And I was like, well, I don't want that. Like, I can't, that's not good. And then, right, I was totally scared. And then I just stopped doing it. But then I realized I came around and I thought, okay, well, you know what? Like, it's still not what I want, obviously. But I also can't not figure out who I am and what I'm here to do and who I'm here to be if I'm just afraid and I don't do what I'm supposed to do because of what may or may not happen. So I went back to it and I started doing it again anyway. And I went deep into it. And I mean, it hasn't always been easy, but I'm very happy to report that in my case, my husband, his own version, he didn't ever do it the way that I do it. Like he will not sit and journal. He will not sit and read a book, but he is absorbing and doing and questioning and looking at and changing his perspective on things on his own. And we've had some really good conversations too. And he's ended up leveling as well. So we're going at it together. So I'm really happy about that. But there really is no
Right.
telling what direction it's going to go.
That's what will happen, right? When you're carrying a higher vibration, it's going to affect everybody around you. So,
Mhm.
and it does happen. We've talked about this before. Um, Really quick though, what Danielle's saying, do men and women have different vibrations? Each individual in general has a different vibration. I don't think it's just, oh, men are higher and women are lower or vice versa. It's not like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Every single one of us is like, how do I explain is we're radio transmitters, right? This is an energetic vibrational universe. And you have 92.3, which is a low, we're gonna just per se, 92.3 is a lower vibration. Now, at 92.3 in the lower vibration is anger, fear, sadness, hate, depression, all of these things down here. So,
Mhm.
man or woman, if they're in these emotions, they're in a lower vibration. Okay.
Right.
You guys can look up the levels of consciousness chart by Dr. David Hawkins, and he talks about this. The lowest vibration in existence down here: shame, guilt, fear, anger, hate. And then as you start to feel better, you start feeling happiness, joy, peace. You start vibrating higher until you reach the highest level of consciousness vibration, which is enlightenment. Okay. So we are like radio transmitters. Okay. Depending on where our emotions are at, how we're feeling, that's how you can gauge whether you're in a lower vibration or a higher vibration. So it doesn't matter, man or woman. And this is always fluctuating depending on things that we're going through, right? You're feeling super amazing, you feel great. You're somebody who doesn't have good emotional intelligence though, right? Something is thrown at you, all
Right.
of a sudden your emotions are out of control, your vibration drops. So it's not man or woman, it's each individual, what you're going through and what you're doing to make yourself feel good or happy, right? Finding your happiness from moment to moment is what's literally going to hold you in a higher vibration, not even realizing it. And this
Yeah.
is where your manifestations come in effortlessly. This is where people are like, "Oh my gosh, it's like blessing after blessing and good thing after good thing keeps happening to me." When you're in this higher vibration, you're just in flow. It's grace and ease right there.
Yes. 1 million. 1 million%. That's the angle that Teresa and I are always going at when we're talking about manifesting and talking to other people about manifesting, is because something that makes me literally so crazy is there's so much information out about manifesting, about like rituals and like routines and like techniques and stuff. But I don't know about you, but like I don't want to have to rely on a ritual every time I want to manifest something. I would rather just upgrade my programming, upgrade my consciousness up level, so that, like you're saying, you effortlessly just attract everything that you want and need to you without even having to. I mean, it will get to the point where, like, one of my clients she doesn't even have to deliberately manifest anything really. She just kind of sets the intention for her day to go well and things to go well and things to work out for her, and she just is constantly manifesting amazing things, including, for everything from like a great parking spot to like just totally ridiculous lump sum payments. It's just like it doesn't make any sense,
Mhm.
right? But because she's doing the work to increase her consciousness, and she's open to all of what goes into that, which is learning about yourself and accepting who you are and loving yourself unconditionally for all of those things, and then deciding what you would prefer and not settling for anything less, right? I would rather upgrade who I am and just attract everything to me magnetically than have to rely on lighting bay leaves on fire and writing 55 things down and and the thing is, it's funny now, but there was a time where we like
I was like,
relied
I
on.
gotta write these 444 sentences, okay? I gotta write my
Yes.
manifestation that many times in a row, and I'd be like, don't talk to me, don't breathe by me, don't interrupt me. I gotta concentrate, I gotta get this shit done. I mean,
Yes.
I get it in hindsight, right? It's repetition. That's what this is about.
Yes.
Repetition, repetition, repetition. So that eventually these things become second nature. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're always manifesting 24/7, but now we got to reprogram to the things that we desire, the things that we want, not the things that we don't want on repeat over and over
Right.
in our mind. That's why I get, where that 444 times came in, but shit, you know what? If you just write down your desires, live in them as if they're already here, and
Yeah.
just make yourself happy from moment to moment, it's effortless manifesting.
Yes. And then
Never.
believing that it's possible, right? That was my point with the rituals. Now I realize in hindsight, like you say, it's a repetition. It's the focusing, it's the deliberate intention, or sorry, deliberate
Yes.
attention on what you're calling in, because while you're writing it down, 444 times or 55 times over 5 days or whatever, you're at the very least you're focusing on what you're writing, right? So you are thinking about it enough and focused enough for that time that it manifests. But what we also learned and experienced, I've seen and other people experience too, is that when you rely on rituals, not only do you have to always rely on the rituals, but then you still haven't done the work to hold on to the thing. So even if you manifest a windfall of cash, for example, or even if you manifest like a date with this person that you really want to date, right? If you don't do the work to become the person who has that thing, who is that person, you will not hold on to the relationship or the money or anything else. And this is why, perfect example, it's overused, but it's legitimate. People who win the lottery, okay? It is statistically proven. I don't know what the statistic is, but the majority of people who win the lottery are actually, by the time you check in with them 3 to 5 years after they've won, and I'm talking like a big amount of money. I'm not talking like a few $1,000s. I'm talking like around the $1 million plus mark, right? They haven't done the work to become wealthy. They are not wealthy people. They've just come into money. So what ends up happening is 3 to 5 years later, they're actually in a worse financial situation than they were before they won the money at all. Because what happened was they attracted this money somehow, probably to fulfill some kind of short-term issue, need, whatever. And then they piss it away. They buy things they can't afford. They make decisions, like they buy properties that they can't possibly afford the property tax on. And then they end up defaulting and things like that. Whatever, I don't need to get into logistics. But the point is, they don't become the wealthy person, right? Like, how many people do you know who have attracted this, like,
No matter what it is, it comes down to mindset.
yes,
If you
exactly.
don't have a wealth mindset, it's like quicksand. It's going to come in, it's going to leave. And because most of us have experienced that, right? Is that's what I used to say, that's what I used to live, right? As quick as money comes in, it fucking leaves right out, not realizing that I'm speaking it into existence.
Right,
Yes, it has happened, but for as long as I accept that as true and I keep saying it, I keep feeling it, I keep thinking it, right? The secret is in the feeling. Well, I felt that shit real as hell, and guess what? It stayed real. It stayed in my reality on repeat over and
sure,
over and over until we learn this information, right? That what we think, our dominant thought patterns become beliefs. The beliefs are what program the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is what programs and delivers the reality that we experience moment to moment, every day, second by second. It's delivering what we believe
right,
as true.
right.
So I was like,
And
oh shit, I've been creating this whole time. Like, because when I used to hear, oh, you're the operant power. Oh, you're the creator of your reality. I'm like, bitch, why would I create this? Right? Prior
why
to
would I do
when I
this to
first
myself?
learned, who
Yeah.
in the hell would ever create what I have lived? Why would somebody do that on purpose? I didn't do that. It's the family that I was born into. It's my parents did this, and my family wasn't there for me. All this shit. Yeah, it was true, but for as long as I kept it true in my mind, it continued to be true for as
Right.
long as we hold on to it, right? So this is where the delusion comes in. You got to start this. This is why we have an imagination, you guys. It's actually a machine that creates things in our reality.
Mhm.
So what we're imagining day in and day out, what we accept in there as true, then starts to show up in front of us.
Right.
It's that simple. I mean, there's more to it, but
Yeah.
that's the gist
But
of things.
but that's so, like, we have to take responsibility. There are people in my, world, they comment on things, they're kind of like paying attention to what's happening, right? And it's very obvious the ones that are doing the work and have accepted responsibility and the ones who haven't, because, and really listen to what I'm about to say. It is impossible for you to think that you can create a new reality without accepting that you've already created the reality that you're in. Like, and I know that some people do not like to hear it. Like Teresa just said, I didn't like it either. I was like, why the fuck would I create what I have now? That doesn't make any sense at all. How can you say that this is my fault, basically? And it's like, it's not about being anybody's fault. It's about you not understanding that you have way more power over your reality than you think. And a lot of what you've created can be found in your repetitive thinking. Things that you think just on bypass, you're not even paying attention to it. Oh yeah, another bill. Of course a bill came in the mail. Or, I got an extra deposit. Oh, like here comes the expense. Like, or bad things happen in threes, or, when's the other shoe going to drop? Like things like this. Like you're walking around money doesn't grow on trees. I'm not going to heat the neighborhood. Like things that our parents always said, right? It's, you hear it on repeat, it becomes part of your dominant thought process, and therefore it's what you create. So I have people in my world who are constantly wanting to manifest, and they're wondering why it's not working, but they're also refusing to take responsibility for the way that their life looks now. And I'm like, look, man, I understand that it doesn't feel good for you to take responsibility for the way that your world looks, but unfortunately, until you do, because you can't have one or the other. You cannot say, I didn't create this, but I can create what I want. You can't. It's how you do one thing is how you do all things. You have to accept. And it's not about placing blame either. Like, this is not for you to sit around and feel shame about this life that you've created. It's okay, shit. I didn't know any better. We don't know what we don't know.
Right.
But now that you know, you can choose better thoughts. You can catch yourself. Like, one of my favorite things, I say this to everybody, I've been saying it for years. One of the most powerful 3 words you can adopt is cancel, clear, delete. Like, if you catch yourself saying
Oh
something,
yeah.
and at first you're gonna be saying it every third sentence you say out loud. You're gonna go, oh my God, like everything I'm saying is negative, or it's calling it, like, you have to understand your words literally are like magic spells, right? That's why they call it spelling. You're literally casting a spell into your reality. I know that sounds like totally crazy, but it is. And so start being more mindful about what you're saying, right? Like, even if, like, just anything, even if you're saying like, oh, I hope I don't burn dinner. Well, now the chances of you burning dinner are pretty good because you just put it out there. You know what I mean? Like, so when I'm cooking, because I used to be a terrible cook, but part of my thing was I didn't think I was a good cook. But because I didn't think I was a good cook, of course, nothing I cooked turned out well because I didn't believe that I was a good cook. Then
Mhm.
I started shifting the way that I saw it. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? I have to cook anyway. I've got a family, I've got a son to feed. I have to cook anyway. So I'm going to make it an enjoyable experience. First, I started giving myself more time because there's no point in trying to cram, like, because those recipes, I don't know about you, Teresa, but whatever the time says it takes for the recipe, you can at least double it for me if I'm cooking it. Like, there's no way I'm getting it done in 20 minutes. It's not happening. Maybe an old El Paso taco kit I can crank out in 20 minutes. That's about it. But otherwise, right? So I started giving myself more time, right? I started really setting my future self up for success, give myself more time. But then also, as I'm cooking, I imagine it turning out well. I imagine my family appreciating it. I imagine them going back for seconds. I imagine them telling me, oh my God, this is so good. I imagine them enjoying it. But I also take the time to put love into it. Like, I literally will imagine and think about how much I love my family as I'm cooking. And then it ends up I mean, not all the time it's good because sometimes the recipe is shit. I can't control that. But what I what I do have control over is the way that I approach it, my intention behind it, and it almost always turns out well because I believe that I can do it and I have the power to control the outcome, right? Like, that's a very basic example, but you can take that into literally everything that happens in your day.
Yeah, when I say like we are the creators of our reality, it's with everything. Because what I found too is even when I put intention into the food,
Mhm.
like how you're saying, oh, they love this food. It's the best food they ever had. They will literally eat the food and be like, this is the best food I ever had. Whatever intention I put into that bitch when I'm cooking it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I sit there and I trip out like, what the actual fuck? Like, this is wild. Like, it doesn't matter how long we've been doing this. When you start, like, I guess just recently, it just clicked, like every little area you can put intention in there
Yeah.
just to fuck around with it and see what would happen. So when they start responding to it, it's wild, it's crazy, but then that makes you think too, right? When you go out and you buy fast food, you need to bless your food before you put it into your body. I don't know what that person was going through during the day. I don't know how much anger they have in their heart, their mind, or whatever. They're touching your food, they're making your food. They're also putting intention into your food, into your drink. So we have to have this conscious awareness everywhere,
Mhm. Yeah.
literally everywhere. But I think that that just should become a staple in your life, right? How you brush your teeth, you're sending love into your food, praying over your food, putting intention into your food, your water, your kids' food, whoever's around you, teaching them
Yes.
this too. Because I mean, for me, like my vibration is so important now because I'm like, my eye is on the prize, baby. We ain't got no time to waste.
Yeah. No.
Nothing is affecting it now,
Yeah.
but you feel crazy at first because it's every single thing that you're doing all day. Now you have to have this conscious awareness,
Mhm.
right? Because you're manifesting with everything. You're putting intentions into everything and you want it to be good. You want it to be positive.
Yeah. Because it's only a lot of work because you're changing the way that you operate. Like most of us, most people, and this is one of the I'm maybe it's not a downside, but I'm gonna just say it is for sake of context. One of the downsides of doing this work is it becomes exceptionally frustrating to see other people continue to not do the work. And actually, I saw a meme or a post or whatever the other day that said, some people are not here to evolve. Some people are here as reminders of what it looks like when you don't do the work and evolve. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's like so good. But so,
Yeah.
like I say, and it's frustrating when you're doing the work and people around you aren't like, and not even just people close to you, just like you notice that the cashier at the grocery store obviously doesn't understand that she has more power over her life. And this, negative guy at the gas station and just like all of that, right? It's everything. But at first it's a lot of work because you've been operating this same way your entire life, and most people are walking around operating without questioning why they think the way that they think, or why they act the way that they act, or and a lot I had this conversation yesterday in one of my coaching calls, and we were talking about how basically what I kind of boiled down the whole reason we come here, we reincarnate into this world, is to come here agreeing to put on this costume of somebody and something we're not. And then the point of being here in this lifetime is to figure out how to take the costume off again, right? Because when you take the
Yeah,
costume off
literally.
again, right? Because you want to unbecome
Hmm.
everything that everybody else tells you that you are. And so and then the reward for taking the costume off is being able to effortlessly manifest everything that you want. Like just everything's always working out for you. Things just happen the way that you need them to. But by the time you take the costume off and you get to that point, you're so happy and fulfilled and joyful in your life, so grateful to just be living and everything. Like we talked about this in a previous episode. Like the world it's like in high definition now. Like the colors of the leaves are
Hmm.
different. The color of the sky is different. The sunset is more beautiful than it's ever been before. It's not changed at all, but the way that I see it. So like the other way I explained it yesterday, we were talking about this and it was like, okay, everybody's looking through different lenses of perspective, right? And everybody's looking through the lenses of perspective. Everybody's looking at you through their lens of perspective, but they're also looking through you through your perspective of yourself. And it's like very convoluted, right? But so some people are unwilling to change the lens they're looking through. But that's the point, is to change the lenses you're looking through. Right. And I think that's one of the frustrating things about people in our lives, especially negative people in our lives, is they want you to continue to operate through the lens that they want to see you through because that's how they know you. But you've evolved and grown, right? Like my example was, for those of you who are new to this space totally, I, about 8 years ago and prior to that, did not believe in God, did not believe in the universe, did not believe in anything esoteric, anything spiritual. I did believe that everything happened for a reason. So I know that's kind of contradictory and I don't really know how that fits in, but that's just what it was. Like I was being called to it the whole time. I just ignored it. But anyway, and now, like if you were to tell me 8, 9, 10 years ago that I'd be sitting here talking about vibration and energy and God and the universe, I would look at you like you had five heads because that would make no sense to me whatsoever. Like I no. And my husband has always been a spiritual person, and we had a full blown argument one time about like God and Jesus, and stop talking to me about it because this is before we got married. And he married me anyway. Look at that. God, Jesus, and stop talking to me about this. And that's, you can believe what you want. And I never said you can't believe it, but I was like, don't. push it on me though, because I don't believe it. I don't want to believe it. I'm not into it. So, and I'm not saying this because I'm better than anybody else. I'm just saying that at some point, a power came over me stronger than my own vision of myself that was willing to change the lens that I'm looking at the world through. And I'm glad that that happened. And I'm going to be honest with you, what changed it was I first learned about manifesting through watching The Secret on Netflix. And the reason I was drawn to that is because I was talking about goals and stuff I had, like income goals and stuff that I was talking about with a friend of mine. And she said, you need to watch this documentary. And so what ended up being the catalyst for this whole journey was like, oh my God, I can manifest a big ass house and a fancy car and all this money. Like it was because you need to have the breadcrumbs that are drawing you to where you need to be, right? And none of the things that I was manifesting when I first started are things that I still want. We talked about this last week. But I needed to want those things to get me where I needed to go. Right?
I think that's a good opportunity to read this paragraph right here, right in the book, where it says, one process of healing only. There is only one universal healing principle operating through everything: the cat, the dog, the tree, the grass, the wind, the earth, for everything is alive. This life principle operates through the animal, vegetable, and mineral kingdoms as instinct and the law of growth. Man is consciously aware of this principle, and he can consciously direct it to bless himself in countless ways. There are many different approaches, techniques, and methods in using the universal power, but there is only one process of healing, which is faith. For according to your faith, it is it done unto you. Were you successful 8 years ago, or did it change when you found faith? It doesn't matter who the fuck you are. If you do not have faith and belief, it will not be done unto you. It cannot. It is law of the universe. You must, right? It says that when you pray, it's unwavering faith. That is actually teaching you about manifestation, right? Because we're praying to God to deliver the things. Well, a manifestation, in order for the things to be delivered, we must have faith, unwavering faith, and belief in our desires that they are going to be delivered no matter what. We do not know how, but that's not our job to figure out how. And it's the same thing. It says when you pray to God, right? It's not your job to figure out how. Mm-hmm. The Bible is a book of manifestation. What changed everything?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely the faith. But I think being broken down for me, myself, because it's crazy, you guys, like before me and her even knew each other, she got brought The Secret and I got brought The Secret. The Secret is what started me on this path. So then, when people would come to me, they would be like, where do I start? I'm like, go watch The fucking Secret. That's The Secret. Go watch it first and come back and then we'll talk about things. But I had to get so broken down to a point where somebody came to be like, here you go. Here you go. This is it. This is what you need. It was brought to me twice, actually. The first time that it was brought to me, I wasn't in such a place where I even gave a shit about it. It was like, okay. But then finally, when I got broken down and I was on my knees and I was like, okay, I know I'm meant for so much more in this life. I know there's more than what I've been living, but how the fuck do I get there? Here comes The Secret again. But this time when I watched it, it just like, oh shit. Whoa. This is what they try to give me. I don't know how many years ago. And like, I just put it to the side. But everything happens in divine timing. Everything. Yeah. And we cannot sit there, just like you said earlier. No shame, no guilt, no wishing. Oh, I wish this would have happened, 10 years ago. No, because you wouldn't have been ready for it. If it was supposed to happen 10 years ago, it would have unfolded 10 years ago. Everything is always happening right on time. We're always in the right place at the right time. Literally.
Yeah. You can't mess it up. And the thing that I think is important too is you have to understand that even if, because it does happen where we ask for something and we're not ready to receive it and we block it, it will come back around. Like what's meant for you will not be lost. Like it will come back. You don't have to worry about that, because I have been on the cusp of extreme success multiple times. And then I've retracted back for fear of various things, right? So to answer the question too, was I successful 8 years ago? Yes and no, right? Like I've always believed in myself. I've always been somebody who set goals, but I was not as happy as I am now. I didn't get it, like I was always chasing something, whereas now I'm just like, no, I don't need to chase anything. I know that whatever I need is going to show up for me. Like even if I'm in like, I mean, I've been in some shit situations. Like even since starting this work, I'm not going to pretend like it's been fucking butterflies and rainbows the whole time. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but they all needed to happen for various reasons.
And I
Sometimes
think
it's so
I
that
think 8 years ago we beat ourselves up a lot more. We compared ourselves a lot more,
yeah,
to other people's journey and how it was unfolding, not realizing every time that we did that, it was like putting ourselves back more. But then again, everything is always happening how it's supposed to,
yes,
you know.
yeah,
But I would say taking from that 8 years ago, man, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I just beat myself up 24/7. And plus, I wasn't in a good situation, a good life situation. So I was already
mhm,
being beaten up mentally. So,
yeah,
but hindsight, as we always say, I had to have all of those things happening because it it's a molding process that we have to go
yeah,
through. It's dark as shit. It feels gross. You most likely have depression and anxiety when you first start, and you just get squeezed to shit and you want to give up so many times. But once you get to the other side, because you just cannot stop. You gotta fucking keep going. And this is
yeah,
why you have to have your dreams, your goals, your desires. You have to have them written out, because you have to
yeah,
have a roadmap, and you're gonna keep going back to this over and over and over. And you have to have a why. We said this many other episodes too. What is
yeah,
your why? Why are you doing this? How bad do you want it, right? My why had to be bigger than myself, because just for me, I couldn't get it done. But when I put it's for my kids, because I want better for them, because
yeah.
I don't want them to have the same struggles that I did, that's what keeps me going, no matter what's thrown at me, period. But I've made it to the other side. Like, it's beautiful over here now. And now I can look back and be like, oh shit, that's why this happened. Oh, that's why that happened. And I wouldn't change anything, even the most horrible things that I've been through, because I needed every single piece to mold me and build me, grow me into who I am today. Perfectly. It all aligned perfectly with the work that I do
Yeah.
now. It all makes sense.
Well, and exactly. And for me, like I can look back on pretty much every situation I've been in, good and bad, and know, okay, well, and now I know if I start to face something difficult, I'm like, okay, well, this is good though, because when I get on the other side of this is just one more aspect that I can help my clients with. It's just one more
Right.
relatable, it's just one more way that I can relate to the people that are coming to me, right? Because there's a lot of people out there who are preaching and teaching all this stuff, but they're just sitting on their yacht, and they don't like, people don't feel like they get it anymore. Like they feel like they've lost touch with reality because there's nothing wrong with that. Like they're meant to serve other people now. That's fine. But I I like being the one that's relatable. I like being the one that talks about manifestation from a perspective of just wanting to enjoy life and becoming my favorite version of myself versus how much money we make or what kind of car we drive, right? Like there's enough people talking about it from that angle. That's not who I am. I'm about finding unconditional love with who I am and the life that I'm creating, and the people that find me feel the same way. And it's not about not being successful, obviously, because we live in a material world and it costs money to live, and success comes, like money comes with success. I realize that. But also, you have to understand that success is also enjoyment of life. Because how many people do you know who are loaded, or maybe don't know, but know of, who are loaded and totally unhappy? Right? It
That's why
doesn't,
it's about, you got to work on your self
yes.
concept, not
Yeah.
just the desires. You have to have the desires because you want to have a roadmap, what you're going to, letting the subconscious know, like, hey, I want to be making $20,000 a month. But the ultimate goal is to work on self, and then all of those things unfold by themselves.
Yeah.
And then you don't lose touch of, I don't even want to say losing touch of reality, because this whole manifestation is kind of like, it doesn't make sense to the logical mind.
No.
It's beyond that. But I think you get what I'm saying here, right?
Yeah.
Um The ultimate goal is to stay coming from a place of love, is what I'm
Mhm.
getting at. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
your heart pure, your intentions pure, no matter how much you go through, no matter how much you end up bringing into your life, that's the ultimate thing right here. To stay
Right.
grounded,
Right. And
really.
so, and that's one of the things that Teresa and I look for when we're looking to work with mentors or to follow teachings and stuff, is people who are obviously coming from a place of love, right? Because when and part of the thing that makes me a little bit crazy is because there's a lot of people teaching all kinds of things. Like my first business coach and first personal development coach were both coming at their respective angles, from very wounded places, from very traumatic, like masculine energy places. But we didn't know that. So we were learning. And of course, we learned what we needed to learn from these people for whatever reason we needed to learn those things from them. But now we can go and look at it and okay, well, it's easier now to discern who's teaching from an angle of love and who's teaching from an angle of something else, right? And
Ego.
yes, and like Teresa said, you have to be clear about what you actually want to be able to even start to find somebody to work with, right? Because if you don't know what you want, like so many people I see, they're frustrated. They're saying, manifesting doesn't work for me. I can't get this to work. I can't get this to change. My reality looks this way. And I say, okay, first of all, you're focusing way too much on what's happening and not what you want. But also, a lot of the reason that's happening is because they are not actually as clear about what they want as they think they are. And Teresa and I have talked about this a lot, but it's worth repeating because if you're not clear, like clear on what it is that you want, you will not be able to manifest it. Like, for example, when my husband and son and I were living in Nicaragua for 15 months, and about 12 months in, I decided I wanted to come home. And but I had to get really clear on why I wanted to come home, right? There was like, I wanted my son to go back to his school. I wanted, like, this is going to sound totally dumb for a reason to want to move somewhere, but I really got heavy into like crafting and painting and stuff. And you can't do that really there. The supplies are, I mean, it's a third world country. They don't have the right supplies. They don't have access to the same things. It's too hot. The weather is not conducive. Things get moldy. You can't store things anywhere. Like it just didn't, it wasn't to get clear on coming home and manifesting and focusing on coming home was I started Pinterest boards of all of the different like crafts and recipes and like table arrangements and holiday DIY things I wanted to do. And I spent like an hour or two every single day on Pinterest adding to these boards. I haven't gone back to look at any of them since we've been home, but my point is that it was focused attention on what I want and why, and wanting to spend more time with my family. So I was, like I said, I was pinning, family get together dinner ideas for feeding a crowd and table arrangements and holiday things and family games and things like that because I was focusing on what I wanted and why and not just on, like, I think a lot of people get hung up on manifesting just money, for example, or just I want to have a partner. But it's like it's not just about having any partner, it's about having the right partner for you. What do you want out of the relationship? What do you want your life to be like? How do you want this person to complement your life? Right? And then when we're talking about spouses and partners and stuff, it's important that you're also, and it's the same for anything else you're manifesting, but specifically with partners and relationships, this is where the self concept work and the inner work is really important because are you, like, you're manifesting this great person to come into your life and complement you and be your partner, but are you the person that they're manifesting? Like, are you stepping up and being the person that they want to be or not? Because if you're not doing the work to become the version of yourself that this great person is going to want to attract, then you're not on the same frequency and you'll never meet up with that person. Right?
Or you can still attract them in, but what will happen is you'll sabotage it
Right.
because you won't feel worthy of it, even though you so desperately wanted it and you called it in. You
Yeah.
won't be able to keep it. Just like the lottery winners, how they lose the money. It's the same concept,
Right.
right?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the
If
same
your
concept.
beliefs aren't in alignment with it, your beliefs have to show up because that's how the subconscious works. They
Right.
have to. It is law.
Yes.
It's law.
Yeah. And he says here, actually, that's a good tangent for this, the law of belief. All religions of the world represent forms of belief, and these beliefs are explained in many ways. The law of life is belief. What do you believe about yourself, life, and the universe? It is done unto you as you believe. Belief is a thought in your mind which causes the power of your subconscious to be distributed into all phases of your life according to your thinking habits. Right? The belief of your mind is simply the thought of your mind. If thou canst believe all things are possible to him, then believeth, is Mark 9:23. And he says here, all your experiences, all your actions, and all the events and circumstances of your life are but the reflections and reactions to your own thought. And that's why cancel, clear, delete will be your new favorite 3 words ever.
Yep.
Because even in your own thought process, like developing the awareness is more than half the battle, because if you're not even aware that you're thinking things that are calling in things that you don't want, then you're playing a losing game. So developing the awareness, just start paying attention to what you're saying to yourself when you're alone. Like if you make a mistake on the, like I've caught myself doing this, make a mistake, I'm like, oh, stupid, like, you know, and it's like, hang on a minute, it's not stupid, just made a mistake, just back up a little bit. We have to like really practice really deliberate self-compassion and self-love. And I know for a lot of people it's going to sound really airy-fairy and they don't want to spend time doing it, but I'm telling you right now, if you want to change your reality as bad as you say you do, then you will do the work to be airy-fairy with yourself. I'm telling you right now, like Teresa said, like it is a lot of work at the beginning because you're changing the way that your mind operates. It's tiring, it's exhausting, but it's worth it because eventually the scale tips in the other direction. And Abraham Hicks says, you only have your dominant thought is just what you're thinking 51% of the time. Not all day, 51% of the time. So the more you can be aware of the thoughts you're thinking and the things you're saying and the things you're paying attention to, including what you're putting into your mind, your mental diet, what you're watching on TV, what you're reading. I mean, I feel like we're repeating ourselves from every week. We say the same things, but it's so important that you're doing these things, right? You have to be careful about what you're putting into your mind, because if you're doing all this work to be conscious about what you're thinking about, but then you spend all night watching dramatic reality TV, horror, murder mystery shows, you're just undoing all the work you just did. And how you spend your evening TV time is exactly how you have been spending your afternoon
Hi, Jody.
TV time.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. So if you're not changing the way that you're operating, if you're not choosing to read a book instead of watch TV, choose to watch a documentary instead of a horror show, you know what I mean? Like you have to change the way that you're operating. Listen to the lyrics and the songs that you're listening to. So many, like when I started doing this work, I was actually kind of depressed because there's a lot of songs that I have been singing out loud for years. And then I realized, oh my God.
And they played out in my life. There's one song, it's X Factor by Lauryn Hill. I don't know, you guys heard that one? Why you gotta make it so hard, blah, blah, blah. My kid goes to put it on. I'm like, stop, don't play that. Don't. I played that for years, and that's all I kept experiencing over and over and over. It's because, right? The subconscious isn't like, oh, she's singing a song, I'm not going to deliver those things to her.
Right.
No, you guys, it's delivering what we're speaking and thinking and believing 24/7.
Yes.
I hate to go into the whole we live in the matrix, blah, 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 but everything's programmed. Everything's programmed to keep us dumbed down in this lower vibration, to keep everybody in a fucking state of chaos so that you are reliant on the system instead of on yourself.
Yeah,
Literally.
that's what they want.
That's
That's
what
what
it
they
comes
want.
down to.
So this is why this work is so important, because and it's not about like I'm not going to go move out to the middle of nowhere and start a commune and shut off all communication. Like I'm not going to do that. I already lived in the middle of basically nowhere in the jungle. I'm not into it. It's not for me. But it is our duty now to make sure that people understand that at least that you have so much more power over how your life and your day plays out than you realize. And
Yes.
one simple thing you can start to do is just before you go to bed at night or first thing when you wake up, just ask the universe, show me how good it gets to be and just see what happens. Or I'm expecting good news in the next 24 hours and just see what happens. Right? Just make it like a play, like a game, like an experiment, right? You don't have to put pressure on yourself right out of the gate. But once you start to see that it works, you'll be way more intentional with the way that you operate in your daily life, to the point now where Teresa and I, like we're saying, everything we do has intention. I'm not doing anything without thinking about how I want it to play out first. I do not allow myself to finish any negative thoughts, to the point where if I'm talking to somebody I've never met before, if I'm speaking, like I don't know this person, if we're
Welcome
speaking,
and thank you, Daniel.
Yes, thank you so much. If I'm talking to somebody I don't even know and I'm speaking and I start to say something that I realize is not what I want to create more of, because your word is your wand, right? And your voice carries vibration, it carries a lot of power. I will say, oh, no, cancel, clear, delete, and I'll keep talking. Sometimes they look at me a little bit funny, but I'm like, look, man, your words create your reality. I'm not about to speak something into existence that I don't want to experience. So I don't really care if I look stupid. I really don't care what you think of me. If I'm gonna if you're gonna if that's what's gonna make you think that I'm not a worthwhile person to have in your life or to communicate with, then I don't, you know what I mean? Goodbye. But more often than
Right.
not, I actually it opens the door to be able to not educate, but just kind of plant the seed. Like, you don't have to do anything differently, but
But
I don't
I
want to
want
sit.
to I want to
Go ahead.
touch on this really quick and we could like end with this, right? Because this chapter it talks about how um there was an example of somebody healing their parent through their mind, right? What they kept seeing them as healthy, whole, healed over and over and over. Never saw them as the broken, never saw them actually how they were showing up in front of them. And I wanted to touch on this for you guys that are watching, okay? Because what she's saying right now, what Danielle is saying, we cannot change people physically in our reality, right? Yeah, you can say, hey, you know what? Don't treat me like this. Don't do that. Obviously, have boundaries. But what I'm saying is, you're going to tell them, oh, you don't like the way that they treat you and, you know, you want them treating you better. Da, da, da. They may change for a minute or they probably won't even fucking listen to you. But if you ignore how they're showing up and you change their identity in your mind, okay, whether you want to help somebody heal in your reality or you want to change how they fucking show up, start seeing it differently in your mind. See them differently, right? In this chapter, in chapter 5, he kept seeing, I don't know who it is to him. I don't remember. I'd have to dig in there right now. But he kept seeing them as healed over and over and over. Never accepted that they were sick. Boom. Shifted for them. Shifted how this person was existing in their reality. It's the same thing as when we pray for other people, right? But I'm what I'm doing is I'm going a little bit further to help you out because there's somebody watching who has people in their reality not showing up for them how they would love for them to show up. How do you want them to show up? And start seeing them as that in your mind and watch how shit shifts. I have personally, everything that I speak about, I have already lived and I have already shifted in my own reality. Everybody in my reality right now is showing up exactly how the fuck I wrote it down. It's a lot of bit of work. Let's say a lot of bit. It's a lot of bit of work because they're going to show up as that version that you don't like for a while, right? Because there's a little bit of lag time when we're manifesting something new, when the old reality is still there showing up, and then when you finally shift it. If you stay in this new identity of them in your mind, I promise you, if you do not waver in your faith, have faith that they're going to switch, that you are the controller of your reality. I promise you, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? This is magic. This is crazy. How are we this powerful? I have done it in my own reality. Everybody in my reality is now programmed to my beliefs. And let me tell you, what I say is that everybody supports me. Everybody sees my worth, my value, even people who didn't previously see it. I had to ignore how they were showing up. And in my mind was like, nope, this motherfucker values the shit out of me, knows my worth, sees my worth. I had to keep it, right? I had faith in here. I did not waver in my faith. I did not waver in my belief of it. I did not waver in my thoughts, not one time. One by one, they started shifting. It's magic. It's pure magic. We are magic, you guys. We're
Yeah.
magic.
And you know, the I think the most fun part of the whole thing is we know this happens. We experience it all the time. We have people reaching out to us all of the time saying, I did this and this shifted, and I did this thing that you said and my reality shifted. But still, when it happens, it's very, very exciting. Like not most recently, but one of the most recent occurrences was Teresa messaged me and she said, this person who, Teresa and I've been friends for about 7 years now. So I know I've, we started being friends when she was in it. Okay. So like me too. But so I know I have the backstory. I know I was there, I saw, I witnessed. And she said, this person is showing up in this way now. Like, I cannot believe that this is happening and they're showing up in this way and they're saying these things. And I was just like, what is even happening? But that's how much power, like, I can't, it's hard to really explain the gravity of that without giving details, but it was like night and like it was like you were talking about two different people. Like there is no,
Right.
if you had told me or Teresa 7 years ago that this person would be showing up for her in her life this way now, we both would have said we would have been laughing. There's absolutely no way. Like I would have been peeing my pants,
I
honestly laughing.
didn't even think it would be even.
No,
Yeah, right.
no,
Yeah, right. $10 million would fall from the sky first before
yeah,
this shift would ever happen. Like this,
no,
that's impossible. But yeah,
no. So you have to
subconscious
believe.
reprogramming,
Yeah,
subconscious reprogramming. Like this is why we were reading this book, and it's like we are regurgitating and vomiting the same stuff over and over and over because that's how many times it takes for
yeah,
us to keep beating it into you, right? It comes down to your beliefs, the
yeah,
power in your belief and faith.
yeah.
One
And we
million
really want to,
times.
and we really want to drive home the fact like you don't need manifesting rituals. Like you don't need the videos that say, "Oh, this manifested so quick in just 3 days. Do this technique, say this, whatever." Like it all works because the thing is when you believe that it's going to work, it will work. Like I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it doesn't. That's why rituals work is because somebody told you that it works, so you believe that it works, so you try it and it works. Okay, that's it works. But if you don't want to continue to have to manifest that way and you want to just live a life where everything just works out for you, then listen to what we are saying. Read this book, embody the work, come back every week and talk to us here. You know,
Hmm.
watch the videos on our channel, reach out to Teresa on Instagram. You have to immerse yourself in it, and you will notice sooner than later things start to change for you. Start being aware of what you say. That's number one. For anybody who's new to this work, like that is number one starting point is to start being aware of what you're saying and thinking because until you can see for yourself, like I always thought I was such a positive person. And then when I started doing this work, I had to say cancel clearly a lot. And then I was
Yep.
like, oh my God, I thought I was so positive. And here I am. No, like I wasn't because I was speaking all these other negative things into existence still. That's not what you want. Right.
Hmm.
So develop the awareness, just start being aware of the words you're saying, the things you're thinking, the thoughts that occur to you automatically. That's programming. And then hopefully you'll come back and join us next week. I think we'll do same time next week, Thursday at 7. Does that work?
Right.
Okay. So Thursdays at 7 now, Pacific Standard Time. So same time, same place next week. We would love to hear how it goes. So spend the week just being aware. Keep a journal, even if you want to go like into it a little
Hmm.
bit. Keep a journal. Just start being aware of all the times that you have to catch yourself and switch the way you're thinking because it will be eye opening to you. But the sooner you do that, the sooner we can move on to actually reprogramming what is happening on default. Right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's a good place to leave it. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We
Yes.
really
Thank you
appreciate
guys.
you spending your time with us, leaving us all the thoughtful comments. I had to erase a whole bunch of pervy ones, but that's okay. It's part of it. So we'll see you guys back here next week. Thank you so much, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.